Taking a Walk. I'm Buzz Knight, and welcome to the Taking a Walk podcast. Now, he's one of Canada's great songwriters, the architect of some of the most hook-laden, joyously complicated power pop of the last 25 years. As the founder and frontman of the New Pornographers, he built a supergroup out of the Vancouver indie scene that went on to become one of the most critically acclaimed bands of their generation. I am so thrilled to be talking to Carl Newman, better known as A.C. Newman, on the Taking a Walk podcast. The New Pornographers have released 9 full-length albums since 2000 to all favorable reviews, and Newman serves as the band's main songwriter and vocalist. Their 10th studio album via Merge Records, the former site of, is on now. The backstory on this album is significant. The band's drummer, Joseph Siders, was arrested on child pornography charges and sentenced to 3 years in prison. Newman brought in legendary session drummer Charlie Drayton, who has played with the Rolling Stones and Bob Dylan, to re-record the drum parts. The New Pornographers are also heading out on a 2026 U.S. tour starting soon. The former site of arrives under extraordinary circumstances. We will talk to A.C. Newman, otherwise known as Carl Newman, next on Taking a Walk. Carl Newman, welcome to the Taking a Walk podcast. An honor to have you on.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So the new project, the former site of, it arrives under extraordinary circumstances. When you were in the middle of finishing the record, everything sort of fell apart. What was the thing that made you say, we are seeing this through?
Well, when it all started happening, I remember thinking like, well, we're screwed, aren't we? This is insane. What are we gonna do? But I never thought of like packing it in. It's just what I do. I mean, I've been thinking about that a lot in the last year, how like what drives us. I think we all have even if we don't consciously know about it, we all have a drive towards something. I think about all the things I've tried in my life where it went badly and I said I would never do it again. Like I went snowboarding once and it went badly and it's like, I don't ever want to do that again. But yet I picked up a guitar when I was 18 and with very little practice or training, I started like playing in bands and we weren't very good and the shows would go badly and there would be nobody there. And yet, never for a moment did I think, well, you got to stop doing that. You know, I never felt that get back in your horse and ride, like I never had to like steel yourself up. You can do this. I felt like, well, that sucked, but this is what you do. And I think about that now. Like, I think, yeah, this is what I do, and also it didn't take me long to realize that like, as much as we were unfortunately wrapped up in this horrible story that tapped into our name, because our name made it a very cute story. Our name made it a story that was going to go national, whereas it wouldn't have been much of a news story if it wasn't for our band name. I think I just realized that, well, we're not the victims here, and we're also innocent. So I felt kind of defiant, like, I felt like if anybody's going to come after me and say you should change the name, I'm going to say, well, why? Like, who is that for? Like, who am I pleasing? Is it you? Are you upset by our name? Are there any other things that upset you in the world? Like, let's talk about all the other things that upset you. I've been talking about it here and there. It didn't drag me down. I think some people it really affected them a lot more. I think for me it kind of brought a little bit of clarity because there was no worrying about the past, there was no anxiety about the future. I was just staring down this horrible thing in front of me. And I thought, well, if I can deal with this horrible thing in front of me, I guess I can deal with the past and the future. And that's a good place to be in, and I think I've carried that with me. I think it makes me I feel a little changed, like in a positive way. Like I don't feel cynical about being in a band. I feel more wrapped up in being creative. I think I see the importance of being creative and working towards that a lot more than I did before. Um, so, I'm happy, just happy. That's a long answer. But yeah, it never occurred to me to stop.
Bringing in Charlie Drayton to redrum the album, how did that collaboration sort of reshape the record, if at all? And did anything surprise you about what Charlie brought to the party?
Sitting in the room with them, I realized I played with good drummers, but I realized I'd never played with such a good drummer. And like, not only was he just absolutely like rock solid, like the way he played just amazes me. Like mixing drums and every record I've ever done, it's always, oh my God, the cymbals are so loud. Like you're like, turn the cymbal mic off. Oh, they're still too loud. Like the way he plays with such an amazing touch that like it feels like everything is just perfectly mixed the way he plays it. Like he has such a light touch on the hi-hat and the cymbals. And to take that into the mixing studio, it means you can turn the drums up. It means you can crank the drums pretty loud because there's nothing in there that's making too much noise. And Charlie's just an incredibly cool guy. Like, I mean, he offered to drum. Like I never would have asked him because I thought he was too big of a deal. Like his partner and my wife are like really good friends, and when it was all going down, he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And my wife said, "Well, of course they need a new drummer," and he just said, "Tell Carl to call me up," and it was that simple. And I thought like, "Oh, this is." It felt like a what do you call that? It was kind of a mixed blessing. It's like, oh, like
Almost like divine intervention.
yeah, it's like this horrible thing happened with our drummer, and what did we get in return? We got a much better drummer. You know, not that he's going to come on tour with us, but I'm sure he would record with us again. But and he's such a cool person. I'm the only person in the band who's met him so far, and so he's coming to our show in New York, and everybody in the band is so excited to meet him, because he's such a legendary guy, and yeah, and he's just got a really good energy.
Do you have a sense from being around him what he has learned from his Bob Dylan experience?
I don't know. I don't know if he learned anything. uh, um, I mean, it sounds like it was a weird. I mean, I don't know much about it. It sounds like it was a weird band to be in because Bob Dylan is so protective of himself. I got the vibe that even the band members like didn't know what was going to happen next. Like they didn't know what hotels they were going to be in until like that day or the day before. But I didn't really press him on it. It's weird to talk to somebody because like it's weird to talk to somebody like that because usually when you talk about like classic artists, you don't expect the person to know them, but
Yeah.
like he's played with like the Stones and Bob Dylan and Neil Young, and he was basically in the B-52s for a while. It's interesting. I feel like I gotta watch my mouth, you know?
Totally understandable. Um, you've been compared to some pretty interesting and incredible people, from Ray Davis to Harry Nilsson to Ben Folds, writers who have something complicated inside and yet something catchy to communicate. Is that tension between this sort of accessibility and complexity something that you feel like you chase a bit?
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's something almost contrary in the way I work. Like wherever a song is, like I feel like I want to pull it in a different direction. Like a complicated song, I want to make it sound simple. Because I think a lot of my favorite writers did things like that, like Bacharach and David. They made really complicated things sound simple, or even Steely Dan did that too. these days I find myself like writing songs that might only have like two or three chords, but I'm trying to like figure out like, where I can move within those two or three chords. And really there are infinite ways to move within a single chord or two chords. So I really am doing that. Like right now I'm trying to write a Christmas song. There's that push and pull. It's like, okay, what do you want this to be? Like, do you want this to be a Christmas song that's just full of cliches because that's what most Christmas songs are? Or do you want it to be a kind of bizarre Christmas song? Or maybe it should be a bizarre Christmas song playing with cliches. That is always going on in my head. Like where can I? And I think it could be when I write a simple song, I might think in my brain like this is boring me. I'll get tired of it, and which is maybe not a smart way to write. you know,
I think it's a great lesson in creativity, really, the way you laid it out. I mean, it's got to be different, it's got to be interesting, and you got to throw the curveball from time to time or all the time.
yeah, but I mean, I think the curveball is just to entertain myself because sometimes I hear music that I think is just weird for its own sake, and and it bugs me. I'm like, I don't like it. Like I don't want to name check music, but or even things like even something like Captain Beefheart. I absolutely love. I love like Clear Light and Dock at the Radar Station and Ice Cream for Crow, and then Trout Mask Replica, which is the one so many people name check. I just don't like. It just sounds like a lot of noise to me. So I think I think ideally, like I want something strange, but I do want it to have some. I do want it to have some form. I want it to have something that like hooks me in.
How do you know when a new Pornographer's song is done when you're in the process?
I don't know. I mean, these days it's a little different. It's just a gut feeling, Like sometimes I just listen to it, and it's like the definition of art. I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it. I'll just listen to a song and I'll think something bugs me here, or sometimes maybe I'll come up with something in the verse and I'll think, oh, this verse is really good, and then I'll get to like the pre-chorus or the chorus, and I'll go like, well, that doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. It makes me think of what's his name, the famous producer who did the Beastie Boys. He just wrote a book.
Oh, Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin was talking about recording a band and saying like, go through the songs that they brought in and find the best song, and then you have to say every song has to be as good as this. And so I think that's how I feel. And going back to just within a song, like if some part of the song is really coming together, I'm like, well, the rest of the song has to be as good as this, and this part doesn't feel as good, so that has to change. And yeah, just trying to find, sometimes I realize, oh, I got to cut this out, or I have to change the melody. Like in the last few years, I've just tried to be not precious about things like melody. Sometimes I think like, well, this is a nice melody, but there are millions of melodies. Like maybe I can use it for something else, but right now it's not working. So I try to be pretty cruel with that and just toss things out when they're bugging me. And I also like to like check back. Like sometimes you lose the plot and you don't know that you've lost the plot. So sometimes it's good to like if I am struggling with a song, sometimes I'll go back to like, well, what did it sound like a month ago? And then I'll listen to it and I'll think, well, I had it a month ago, and then I'll just start working on the version that was a month old, and just trying to keep some perspective, like trying to support my creative mind, but also being very cruel to it at the same time, you know, and but knowing that I can fix it, and knowing that there is an answer. Somebody just asked me the question, like when you're writing songs, is it or coming up with melodies, is it still a mystery to me, or do I feel like I've figured it out? And I feel like it's still a mystery, but what I figured out is that I know it's a mystery that I can solve. Like I know, I might be vexed by something, I might be frustrated, but I know, like, like I can see the answer somewhere in here. I just have to look for it. And maybe it's something I need to add, maybe it's something I need to remove. Often it was kind of an epiphany to realize that sometimes something's not working, and what's the natural thing you want to do? You want to add something. Like it isn't working. Well, let's add more things to it. But then I realized, like, wait, okay, maybe it's in here. Maybe the answer is already in here. It's like Dorothy. Everything she thought was just in her own backyard. So I try to look at songs that way and go, okay, let's pull it all the way. Maybe I'm just not seeing the answer here.
It's like that Seinfeld episode doing the opposite.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
little bit
Well,
sometimes.
it's also one of What are Brian Eno put out those cards? Do you know what I'm talking about? They're
I
they're
don't
like
know.
he made a deck of cards that whenever you're stuck for ideas, you pull out. I forget what they're called, but it will give you, and you sometimes it's really like obtuse and you go, what the hell does that mean? But sometimes there is a card will say, get rid of your favorite thing, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the idea behind the cards is to just make you think in a different way.
Just like that Rick Rubin book that you talked about too, I mean, that
Yeah.
book is beautiful for that because it just gives you these things that you go, that seems obvious, but I hadn't thought about it.
What something I just realized. Well, I don't know if you could call it a realization, but I decided around last year. I realized that my secret for mixing this record would be to not have anything in the mix that couldn't be the loudest thing. Like if there's something in there that couldn't be the loudest thing, it shouldn't be there. Like if anything's gonna clash with the song because it's too loud, then it's like, well, get rid of it. And it seems like you said, it seems like the most obvious thing in the world, but to me, it was an epiphany because I felt like I've spent so many years, especially if you're in a band, there'll be some part like somebody's part isn't working very well, and you go, well, how about if I just turn it up a little bit? It could be texture in the background. And now I feel like, no, if it's not working, get rid of it. And at the end of a record, that's what I find myself doing. I find myself just, if I'm giving notes, on the mixes, it's usually like mute that and mute that. And it's like, there, now there's more room. Now there's more room for the cool things.
So as you have some distance from the creation of the former site of a little bit of time, I'm sure, a little bit of distance, how are you feeling about it?
I feel really good about it. I mean, I feel like I've been writing in a different way, a way that feels new to me, which makes me feel, excited about it. And I spent a lot of time on the lyrics, writing in a way that I had never really written before. Like I mean, I did research on some of these songs. On the song "Spooky Action," it's like, okay, if I'm gonna write about the Cassini-Huygens probe circling Saturn, I should know what it would look like. Like what would you see if you were circling Saturn? And on the song "The Former Site of," I was writing about, a town being flooded for the reservoir in upstate New York in 1905. And I thought, well, what would those towns have looked like? And I had to do some research. Even if it's just a few lines, I wanted to make sure if somebody made the effort to dig deep into the song, they would find, like, oh, this all checks out. Like he's not just throwing word salad out there. And that to me was new, and I think it's affected the way I write, and it feels like exercising a muscle that you haven't exercised as much in the past. And it makes it, yeah, it makes it new to me. Just like going through a song and thinking, is this line necessary? just like cutting it out. Um, well, one thing I've been mentioning recently is that I don't know if it applies to songs, but the idea of Chekhov's gun, where Chekhov said, if you're going to show a gun in your play, it needs to be fired at some point, which is his way of saying like, don't put unnecessary things in, don't put anything in your story that's unnecessary. Like everything should have a reason. So I was thinking of that on this album, where sometimes I would cut out lines or even cut out a verse if I thought it could be said with a couple words somewhere else. Like just trying to communicate something as economically as possible. The song "Bonus Mai Tais" was a very like personal story about a friend of mine who was died of cancer, and about when I went to visit her and her husband when she was dying. And it took me a long time to write that song because I just wanted to get it. I just wanted it to feel exactly right. Like I didn't want any part of it to feel like filler. Like I wanted every word, every detail to like communicate the story. And that to me was that's fun. Yeah, and that's the way I'm still writing now. I think that's why I feel like I'm really into the idea of working. Like I try to spend an hour or two a day writing or recording or arranging or whatever I do, whether it's like writing lyrics or working on music. Like psychically, I find it very rewarding.
The new pornographers have always had this incredible vocal identity. Nico Case, Catherine Calder. How do you write knowing that there's going to be multiple voices that are part of a song?
I don't really write for anybody. I mean, sometimes I kind of do. Like sometimes there have been parts of this record where I thought like, oh, this will sound really cool in Catherine's voice. And which comes from just working with somebody for so long. But yeah, I've never really written for anybody. And the reason our songs in the past have had like three singers or two singers was not because I wanted them to be duets. It would be because the low section, none of the females can sing the low parts, and I can't sing that high on that section. It was just a matter of like communicating the song in the best way possible. And in the end, it became like this multi-voice band, just because I needed different instruments to get the song told.
You've said you want to be remembered as a good guy, and as a songwriter, I want to ask you: is there a song that you've written that you feel most proud of? One that sounds like you at your absolute truest moment.
I don't know. I'm so close to this new record, but like I never want to be the guy. It feels weird to be the guy, the rock guy in his 50s saying, I think I'm doing my best work right now. You know, I think I roll my eyes at anybody who does that. But I mean, I feel like a lot of songs on this record I feel the closest to. Then there are other songs like I've always loved our song Jessica Numbers from Twin Cinema, not because of anything I really say in it, just because like I just loved like the musical attack of it. Like I felt like, oh, I felt like we did something kind of unique here. Or I feel a similar way about the Bleeding Heart show. It's hard for me to even go back and look at that. I feel like my whole career is me like just trying to get somewhere, and then at the end of it, you go, well, you didn't quite get there, but try again. So I feel like I'm just trying to get closer. Like I'm really proud of the song. I wish you could see me. I'm killing it, just because it's so direct. It's honest, and it's very direct. But that's stuff I look for. Like I see different things in songs that other people do. On our album Brill Bruisers, there was a song called High Rise that it was my favorite song on the record. And I said like, oh, I think this is the best song on the record. And then other people were telling me it should be cut. When I'd say, should anything go off the record? And they'll go, I don't know, maybe that song. And I go, what do you mean? I think it's the best one. And so I realized like what I'm looking for, or what I see in a song is not what other people see in a song. I mean, and taking that to an even more absurd length, so I have a theory that what has made us popular is not the part of us that I think is good. We were made of different elements, and I think there is something in our music that made people like us, but I don't, I think the part of us that I think is good, people might just tolerate. you know and then there's a part that I just shrug at, and that's what people go, oh no, those are your best songs, which is a long way of saying I'm not really sure what the answer is.
You guys are going on the road though.
Yes, and I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to it. um and I gotta say, the great thing about playing, sometimes you play songs that they're songs that I like but I'm just sick of. Like some of our most popular songs, the songs that we always have to play. Like when we're rehearsing, I'm like, oh my God, do we have to rehearse this? We could do this in our sleep. But when you get in front of people and you start playing an old song that you've played a million times and you see how people love it, that absolutely changes the way you feel about it. And all of a sudden you love it too. I'm sitting here on Zoom talking about, oh, I'm sick of that song. But when the first chords of the Laws of Change hit and I see how the crowd reacts, I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. This song is awesome. Um, so, because then you leave all the theorizing behind. Then you leave behind all the pseudo intellectual theorizing, and you're just inside the music.
inside the moment, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in closing, since this podcast is called Taking a Walk, I do want to ask you, Carl, if you could take a walk with someone or some folks, living or dead, who would you take a walk with, and where would you take that walk?
I don't know where I would take a walk, but you know, this might be a really grounded answer for this, but I would love to just hang out with Brian Eno. I admire his approach to creativity so much. Like I would. It's like a selfish. My reasons for wanting to walk with him are very selfish, because I hope I would learn something. You know, I hope I could learn something that I could take with me. I don't know. Maybe we live a we live near Overlook Mountain, above Woodstock. Maybe he could come here. It's kind of a tough hike, but yeah, either him or perhaps Jesus Christ of Nazareth. But I don't know. I have a feeling I might be a little disappointed if I met the real Jesus. You know, like I know a lot more about who Brian really is, and I think he would. I would learn a little bit more.
Lessons in creativity from you. A beautiful conversation with Carl Newman. I so enjoyed it. Congratulations on the former site of,
Oh,
and
thank you. It was great to talk to you.
good luck on the upcoming tour. And let's do it again sometime.
Yes, definitely. Take it easy.
Thanks a lot.